Hello and welcome to another video from fasimplymk. My name is Mladen and I'm gonna be your host once more. Today we're gonna be reacting to a video called Responding to Atheist Arguments, and it's gonna be a bit of a challenge. We're gonna answer the questions from the audience before the apologetics do. So let's see what we can do about this. However, bear in mind that I'm a fresh-born Christian since about a year ago or two or so, and I'm still practicing answering these questions, especially in English. So let's see how I do and stick around to find out.
So I have some friends that are atheists, and they say that everything has a beginning. So God created the universe, who created God? And I don't know how to respond to that.
Alright, the first question is quite a simple one. If everything has a beginning, who created God? Who created the Almighty God? Now, we know that for sure universe is created. Actually, we know for sure that it is not timeless. It is something that has a beginning and it will have an end. We know this now as a scientific proven fact, right? However, for God, what we know is that He is the Alpha and the Omega if we understand the scripture. And being Alpha and Omega means that He is the beginning, He is the end, He is timeless, He is spaceless, He is forever. And if you are forever, it means that you have no beginning and you have no end. Now this is kind of confusing to say it like that, but think about number infinity, for example. Have you ever thought about this number? It has minus infinity numbers, comes to zero, and then goes plus infinity numbers. It has no beginning and it has no end. It is infinite. That's the same logic that applies to God. He is infinite completely and He is timeless completely. That's why He has no creator and He wasn't created. And now let's see what the Christian apologetics are gonna say.
Well, there has to be some uncreated creator, because you can't go on an infinite regress of causes. There has to be something uncaused. For centuries, atheists believed the universe was eternal. They had no trouble believing in an eternal universe. Now suddenly we realize the universe is not eternal. It had a beginning, and they're having trouble believing in an eternal God. Why can they believe in an eternal universe, but we can't believe in an eternal God? As we'll see tomorrow, space, matter, and time had a beginning out of nothing. If that's the case, whatever created space, matter, and time can't be made of space, matter, and time. In other words, it must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. Now, if you're timeless, do you have a beginning? No, God is the uncaused first cause. He's the unmoved mover, as Aristotle would say.
But here's what I also want, just tactically as you're working with this, remember that everyone, regardless of worldview, believes in something that caused the universe that is itself uncaused. They also believed in an uncaused first cause. They might think it's the multiverse or the multiverse generator, but that thing they're describing has no cause. So we're all in the same boat. The only question is, of our two descriptions of the uncaused first cause, which one is more reasonable? Because, your multiverse generator can't get you things like consciousness, moral law, the things that we see in our universe. For uncaused personal being, though, could get those things for you. So it's really about which of these uncaused first causes is more reasonable.
Yes, sir.
Of course, these apologetics are gonna have a better answer than me. However, they have been in business for, decades now? So it means that they have been practicing this for a while. So let's say that this point goes to the apologetics. However, I think I did a decent job. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What did I do? What did I say well? And what can I improve on?
Hi.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Regarding the chain of custody, how do we know that the documents along the way haven't been altered, or that we can rely on the documents?
Okay, great. So
Okay, how do we know that the documents were not altered? We cannot know this. We cannot know that they were not altered, that they were not modified over time. In fact, there's a lot of research being done over this, and a lot of the research says that some of the things were kind of marked up and changed up. However, the core message still remains the same, and that is that God did come and dwell among us. He was in flesh, and He was walking and talking and breathing and healing and living as flesh among us. how can we trust this? Well, we can trust based on the eyewitnesses and the testimonies that were written down from, 5,000, over 5,000 manuscripts that were written. If that's not convincing enough, then I don't know what is.
Great question. So the question I think he's asking is, okay, you have these documents in a chain of custody, but isn't it possible that each one of those documents would be altered? First of all, when someone says, isn't it possible that, what's your response? Yes, of course it's possible, because anything and everything is possible. The question is it reasonable? So now what you're suggesting is not just that the original documents have been altered, that'd be a pretty good conspiracy, that we have a vast conspiracy that spans 3 centuries of different generations in which all of these documents have all been altered to make it look like there's an accurate chain of custody, when in fact it's not an issue of one document being altered. It's an issue of hundreds of documents over time being altered by different people groups in 3 completely disparate portions of the empire. It's possible, absolutely. It's just not reasonable. Make sense? Because it involves tomorrow we're going to talk about conspiracy theory. So we'll really get to the chase on this. And you'll see why I don't think I'm not going to give it away. Talk about it tomorrow. Got to come back.
All right, the response was similar to mine, I guess, and we can move on.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Sam.
Hey, Sam.
My question was, when you come across people who you need to share this information with, people who need to know this, how do you discern between people that you should share this information with and casting pearls before swine, like hard-hearted people who like, we have the commandment not to cast pearls before swine. How do we tell the difference between those people and the people who need to hear this, who will receive it?
I'll make it fast.
All right, this is one to think about. When we should stop sharing the gospel, when we should start sharing message with people around us. I have no idea the answer to this question. I think that you should share this message with everybody. I think you should be honest. I think you should try your best to be open-minded to sharing this message, but also careful in how you share the message. And that's it. There's not much you can do. If the message is not well received, move on. There's nothing more you can do. Let's see how the apologists are going to handle this one.
That's the problem. He's come over here to tell me.
He'll put it on a screen.
Yes, I'll go back to my PowerPoint for a second, folks. It's gonna be a black screen. Okay, I'm gonna draw this on here.
Babysitter.
There it is. It's in red. Can you see it? There you go. Can you see it now? It's not very thick. I'll try to make it thicker. Now you're gonna ask me to do things I'm not quite sure I can even do. Let's see. Hang on one second. I'll make it yellow. Is that better? Yellow? Okay,
it's fine. They can see.
So here's the spectrum when we pick a jury. This is the spectrum of people we pick in a jury. All kinds of folks get called in for jury duty. We put them on the panel. They're divided into 2 broad categories. You have people in this category and people in this category. These are people on this side are people who are pro-prosecution. They just love prosecutors and cops. They pretty much believe anything you say. But they like cops. On this side, you have people who are pro-defense. This is a D. This is a P. Sorry. Can you see that? Okay, I'm up with my fingers. Okay, so there's a pro-prosecution folks and there are pro-defense folks. So these 2 groups are broken in half. Okay, so we have group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. Group 4, you got it? These folks in group 1 are so pro-prosecution that they believe anything cops say. This is an exclamation point. And you can see that they are just totally pro-prosecution. In group 2, they're pro-prosecution, but they're open. They'll do the right thing. If you don't have the evidence, they'll put a question mark there. And then you have in group 3 people who are pro-defense, but they're open. They'll do the right thing. So they got a question mark also. And then you have people in group 4 who are so pro-defense, they never trust anything any cop ever says. Forget it. You're out of here. Do you see the 4 groups? Yes. When we pick a jury, we're trying to get rid of groups 1 and 4. The prosecutor wants to get everyone in group 4 out of it because they'll hang your jury. The defense attorney wants to get everyone in group 1 out of it because they'll convict your guy. Got it? Right. So we're looking for people in groups 2 and 3. Now, I'm telling you this because this really relates to our evangelism also. Because it turns out that the people in our world are broken into two groups we can preach the gospel to. There are people we can talk the truth about. In the first group, this is now a B. I think you can see it's a B. These are believers. And these are unbelievers. Here's a U. In group 1, we've got people who are such strong believers, you could get the body of Jesus and drag it in front of the bones of Jesus. They would say, I don't care. I'm still in. I don't care what you show me evidentially. I will never change my mind. I am a Christian. Great. They're in group 1. Group 2 are Christians who are starting to have doubts. Group 3 are atheists that are starting to have doubts. And group 4 are atheists that I don't care what you say, they don't want to hear you. So how do I deal with these groups? Clearly, the groups in 2 and 3, again, are the sweet spot. But I actually want to share the truth with group 1 because they don't even think you need to have any evidence for what you believe. But guess what? They're raising kids in their family, and they're in group 2. And you need to be ready to help the people in group 2 that are in your family. You might think, well, I don't need that. They need it. And they don't even want our books. You can buy our books. I hope you do buy our books. We'll be happy to sign our books. But guess what? You can't give our books to your kids. They're not going to read them. They don't want to hear from us. The first apologist your kids want to hear from is you. We don't need another $1 million apologist. We need $1 million $1 apologists. Got it? So you need to be doing that if you're in group 1. But of course, I'm interested in group 2 and 3. Group 4 is where my dad is. That's where I was for 35 years. So what do you do with folks in group 4? Well, you do the same thing that Frank talked about already. This is the group you pray for and you model Christ to. Because at some point, until God calls them into group 3, you won't reach them and it'll feel like it's a failure. But trust me, I was hearing you when I was in group 4 before God pulled me into group 3, and I remembered everything you said once I was in group 3. So it's worth your time. But remember that that's the group that right now, if they're in the room, they're live tweeting what a jerk I am. They're adamantly against us. And they're blogging against us and writing against. They hate us. So we model for that. Now, I just sent a group of students to Berkeley, right? We take students to Berkeley to expose them to atheism, okay? And I teach them this stuff. And when they go, I saw they sent me pictures from Berkeley. The students are wearing shirts that said, I showed you these, I'm praying for group 4. So you'd be praying for group 4. Okay? Yeah. So.
Well explained. This was brilliant. I think I'm gonna implement this in my own life as well. You have groups 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 3 are the sweet spot where they're gonna listen to you. You have group 1 who is convinced and completely convicted that Jesus is king and you don't have to preach to them. And then you have group 4 that will never listen to you, but what you can do is you can pray for them and have them hopefully convert eventually through Jesus Christ. This is beautifully explained, and I don't think anything more needs to be added. If you didn't really understand what he's saying, let me know down in the comments below, and I will make a video in detail about these groups that he is talking about.
And Sam, the short way to find out where people are is to ask them the question, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? See how they react to that. If somebody goes, well, sure, it seems they're sincere, they're in group 3 probably, right? If somebody says no or says, yeah, but you couldn't do that, because I get that a lot. If I could show you it was true, would you believe it? Yeah, but you couldn't do that. They're still in group 4.
Yeah, Frank added nicely. You can try to ask the question, if Christianity were true, would you believe it? And based on the answer, you can know which group the person belongs to. That's really nice. That's a good question as well. We gotta keep this in mind and write it down, I guess.
One more.
All right.
One more. We gotta send the crew home.
All right, what's your name?
Gabriella.
Hey, Gabrielle.
Well, I had a sociology of religions professor. It was bad. One of the main arguments he was making was that people in the of course, people in the Middle East are going to believe in Allah or Shiva. That by me just living in this area, of course we're going to be Christians. I don't know how do you answer that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were brought up in a Christian environment, and therefore you're a Christian. Is that the idea? And if you were brought up in Saudi Arabia, you would be a Muslim.
Yeah.
And Richard Dawkins says the same thing.
Ah, I see. She's trying to say that if you were raised here or there, you would be raised or born into a certain religion, and you would be forced upon into a religion, I guess. What I think critically you should do here is you should abandon any idea of religion at all and do your own research. Same as I did. I wasn't a Christian my whole life. I was actually an atheist. I was born into a Christian world, or actually a Christian area, but I decided that Christianity is the truth by doing my own research. I put an effort to research Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and you know it, Scientology, and I don't know what else. I put a lot of effort into researching all of these before I realized that there is only one truth and one truth only. Once you realize what's the truth, it is easy then to see through the lies of the enemy. You can see through the lies and the deceit of other religions. But it is imperative that you do this research on your own without anybody putting ideas into your head. Try to do your own research and see where the truth is. Now let's see how Frank is going to respond to this one.
Hey, it's ironic that Richard Dawkins says if you're brought up in a Christian nation, you'll probably be a Christian, when he was brought up in ostensibly a Christian nation and he's an atheist. Right? That doesn't determine whether any given religion is true. The question that we have to try and discover is where does the evidence point? Is Islam true? Is atheism true? Is Christianity true? Regardless of where you were brought up. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, if Christianity is true, it doesn't matter that everybody in Saudi Arabia is a Muslim. They're wrong. Of course, if Islam is true, it doesn't matter how many people in America are Christians. We're wrong here. So the question is, what is the evidence? That's the real question.
Then the history of Christianity actually betrays that. Because let's think about it. In the first century, the only Christians are not in a Christian environment. And they changed the world by doing just the opposite. By becoming Christians in an environment that has no context for Christianity. And if that was true, why am I a Christian? I honestly had no exposure positive to Christianity at all. So I think that the history of Christianity is the power of the Holy Spirit to convert people in the most hostile of environments in spite of their cultural upbringing. And if that wasn't the case, there wouldn't be a Christian here tonight to ask that question. Make sense? Okay. And out. Now,
Once again, they answered this question brilliantly. If you were born into a certain place, certain area, it doesn't mean that you have to accept the teachings of this said area. The truth is going to reveal itself to you if you search hard enough. Now, this was an interesting video. I figured out that I have a lot more learning to do, and I'm happy to do that. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you had fun, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!